Yo, what are you doing right now? We are going to get real about men's issues, who Jesus is, and who we are as men in Christ. We're going to hear Trey, Jeremy, Michael, and Brad break it down. These guys call themselves the Cussin' Christians. All right, guys, what is going on?
Happy Father's Day.
Yeah, man.
Happy Father's Day.
Father's Day.
It's good.
Did you watch any of the U.S. Open?
No.
I was
I saw a
glued
little bit of
yesterday.
No, I took Hunter shooting for the first time.
Oh, that's
So
fun.
that was fun.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Well, we couldn't find a range around here that would allow an 8-year-old to shoot a gun. So ended up going out into a field and just took. And when I say shooting, I should say it was a BB gun because I couldn't shoot a real gun in Vieira, but we found a place to shoot a BB gun, and it was fun. My wife wouldn't let me shoot in the backyard; she was afraid of the neighbors.
It's good parenting right there.
Oh yeah, gotta take them out.
So you got him like hitting a bullseye from 50 yards out or something?
We're working on 10 yards at the
10
moment.
yards at the moment.
But now they started asking a bunch
BB guns
of questions.
BB guns have changed since the old days.
No, we got the Red Rider out.
You got the Red Rider out?
Oh yeah,
You pump it up enough,
pump.
dude. Yeah.
No, it's just the old Red Rider.
Just the old
all
one that-
spring, all that. Yeah.
Like the movie says, that you're going to shoot your eye out
Oh, yeah.
with that one.
Yep, that one.
I remember getting one of those for Christmas one year. Thought it was the best thing ever.
Yeah, they got them at Walmart. You can pick one up. However you feel about that.
Okay.
I don't like being in Walmart. That's my problem.
No, I don't either. The experience is not fun for me.
No.
Did you guys ever play Walmart Bingo?
What's more?
What is that?
Oh, you haven't seen that?
No.
Oh, that's hilarious, dude. You get a bingo card, and it's like, it's got different descriptions on it. A kid with a tail, man with a NASCAR shirt on, woman in a hover
I
on.
never heard of that. We got to do it. Cussin' Christians go to Walmart, play
That
Walmart
would be a funny
bingo.
video. That'd be a YouTube video to make.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
Let's do it.
Somebody be offended.
Overweight woman in yoga pants.
Yeah.
Well, man, you check off half of those before you get out of the parking lot, which that'd be great for me. I'm good not going in.
Well, I see a lot of guys there with their baseball caps turned around backwards, So I thought, I'm going to go get one of those, see if I can look as cool as they do. So I went online and I looked around, did the search for backwards baseball cap. I eventually found one because they're a little bit harder to find, because they're manufactured differently. So I ordered a backwards baseball cap. Showed up in the box backwards. I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. So
I'm thinking about
selling
early.
this.
Is that really a thing?
No,
it's
not.
It's like,
He's doing a Michael Thomas over there.
Yeah, right?
That's hilarious. Do
I
you
was like,
notice the word bed actually looks like a bed?
I like that.
The word bed
actually
looks
kinda
like a
does.
bed.
Yeah.
With the B and the D, like when I sit down and I go, okay, is that my
headboard.
drink glass or is that?
It looks like a bed. I was just realizing that since I spent so much time on my butt. In my
And the
bed.
things you think about.
I know.
I wish I had the ability to think like that. I just don't.
Happy Monday,
Random
Monday
thoughts.
morning, getting rolling. How you feeling,
Oh,
Mr. Car Accident?
that was crazy.
Man, this has been 2023 has been the year
Getting
of
my butt
Michael getting his
kicked.
butt kicked.
This is a crash test dummy over
Yeah,
here.
it was. That's exactly what it was. And then the lady gets out and starts screaming at me. I had my turn signal on. I had my turn signal on.
It's definitely your fault because she turned her
So
turn
what happened
signal.
exactly? Because I saw the text.
I'm on a
but-
one-way going through a town, one-way east, just cruising, coming back from Fort Myers and lights green. And next thing I know, I guess, I didn't even see her. She wanted to go down this street to the left and decided to pull in front of me. So she went from the right lane. It's a one-way. I was in the far left lane. I couldn't go anywhere. And she pulled in front of me, and I blasted her.
Oh,
So,
Wow.
is she okay?
yeah, she was fine other than her mouth.
And then you're all right outside of your back.
So she turns in front of you, you hit her, and then she starts yelling at you like it's your fault.
Speaking, I won't, man.
Well, I'm sure the cops sorted that out.
Well, and you guys had two different perspectives of what happened.
Yes.
This is the segue into what we're doing.
When I told the cop what I did, he's like, "Oh yeah, okay, no problem." I said, "Make sure she gets a ticket."
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
They have to assign responsibility to somebody, so somebody's getting a ticket.
yeah.
Well, it's a great Father's Day. Hope you guys had a great one. And we're in the midst of summer now. I know we're going to be taking some time off the next few weeks. All of us are going to be kind of scattered, so we're going to be pulling it together when we can to keep going. interesting conversations about Abraham and Noah the past few episodes. And we're going to shift a little bit today to, I'll read it because I'll read the scripture from 2 Timothy. We all know this. But understand this, that in the last days there will come times of difficulty. For people will be lovers of self, lovers of money, proud, arrogant, abusive, disobedient to their parents, ungrateful, unholy, heartless, unappeasable, slanderous, without self-control, not loving good, treacherous, reckless, swollen with conceit, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, having the appearance of godliness but denying its power. Avoid such people. We were just talking a minute ago about a film we saw that had two totally different perspectives about the same, historical relevance pieces, Bible versus science and whatnot. And Brad brought up this perspectives talk because it was on his heart, and you verbalized it pretty well in a text to all of us to get this going. But when we have conversations with people that they are looking at something from a totally different lens than what we're looking at through the lens of the blood and resurrection of Jesus Christ, how can we line that up, or can we? And I know it was on your heart to start sharing that kind of thing. So,
yeah, I was
where were you?
I was just thinking about kind of like what your core beliefs are, what your worldview is, affects how you behave, what you think about every day. And as Christians, knowing that all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God, only by God's grace that we can know Him, that we can be with Him. He's extended grace to us. So we come from a perspective of anything that God gives us is good. And so I feel like we have more of a grateful heart. We can have more joy and more purpose knowing that there's a loving God who wants us to know Him and to be with Him, versus the world's perspective, the humanistic perspective that we're inherently good. So we're owed, even if you even believe that there's a God, He owes you because you're inherently good. You've checked these boxes. So if you don't get what you want from Him, then you hate Him or you dismiss Him altogether. Or there's the humanistic people who don't believe there is a God, so there's no purpose. Everything's random. Everything's by chance.
Right.
And I with those kind of people, I just see people that are angry, people that are bitter, people that are depressed, sad. So I was just thinking, depending on your perspective, it affects it. Like, what are the fruits of what you believe? So we come from a place of gratefulness, a place of God doesn't owe us anything, and anything that He does give us is good, versus the world who says, well, I'm my own God. I make my own decisions. Why aren't things going better for me? Why don't I have joy or peace?
Right.
And so you see a lot of people in the world complaining about things that we on the Christian side are saying, man, God can redeem this. And so I was just looking at the kind of the different perspectives and how that affects people and how they behave and, what are the fruits of that.
Right.
You said inherently good. I mean, what is it? We've talked about this before. Where is the level of good? Where do you cut that off at?
Well, and
how do you define that?
Well, and exactly right, and that's the issue. If you don't have something to center what good is, then you have your good is subjective, right? And if you were to talk to Hitler and some of the Nazis, they believed what they did in the Holocaust was good, and it was the right thing to do, and they were headed the right place because they centered that on their belief, whatever that came from, right? Whereas you and I are saying, no, you killed millions of people. Like, that's not good.
Right.
Well, to them, they were doing it for a purpose that they believed was good. So if you believe in nothing and you're setting your own truth, then how can you say that Hitler was wrong?
Right.
Now, a lot of people are going to hear that and they'll be like, oh, dude, come on. But it's true, right? You just don't want to admit that I'm right on this one.
Chef's always right.
No, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not. But if you have nothing to center it on, tell me that it's wrong.
Well, what about this? What about this premise that Brad talked about? Because I read a back and forth yesterday or the day before about we're all just good people. We're born inherently good. You hear that a lot, or you'll see the nicest man, the nicest atheist, the nicest agnostic that there is that doesn't have a belief system in a creator or is indifferent to it in some way, but they're just awesome people. Mm-hmm. How do we wade through that?
I mean, you can be an awesome person and not be a Christian, but that
Based on morality.
Yeah, you can. And morality was set by who, right? And I believe that deep down inside of them, they're hearing a spirit's whisper in their ear about what is good and what is bad, because we all, have that connection. We just don't want to admit it, right? So I think they live in a false reality, personally.
Yeah. Well, and our laws are based on the word, so they're adhering to the law, which is based on the
law
word.
of the United States.
Right.
Yeah, okay, gotcha. We were just looking at some statistics that, what was it, 11 or 12% of the population of the United States is either atheist or agnostic. And there's another 10% or 20% or so that are what they call unaffiliated. So technically you can look at 25 to 30% of the United States population is not Christian, or they don't have a religion, Muslim or
But have they
Buddhism or
read
whatever.
the book?
Well, that's a great question.
I mean, there's what's the comedian? Jeff Allen is a comedian, and he was claiming to be a atheist, and he had a guy talking to him and asked him, he said, have you read the book? And Jeff Allen said, no. And he said, well, you're not an atheist, you're a moron. And it's true. Have you read the book?
Yeah.
Okay. And I think one of the things that people tend to do is they're taught, especially now, things that are substantiated by science. And I think science mirrors creation. I think it's the fact that we can attribute a lot of the things in the word to science.
Well, there's not one thing that science hasn't uncovered that didn't prove that it existed in the Bible.
Right.
Every single time they try to disprove something, they go on this big expedition. Like, oh no, it's a lot closer than we thought.
Right.
I mean, even the flood, right? I was watching, or not just the flood, but I was watching this thing about Moses the other day, and they actually proved that it was very likely at the exact time that Moses was there was a land bridge made by water that was caused from a tsunami on the other side of the world that would have drug enough water out to create a land bridge for long enough for the Israelites to actually cross over. And they can't disprove that was true, because all the time periods, according to documents outside the Bible, and according to tree rings in California or Washington State, something like that, actually proved that probably was true. And it's the tree rings in that state that say, hey, this actually is true. So they're using science to say, oh, it doesn't exist. But then when they do it, they're like, oh, wait a second.
Wait a
There's actually a greater probability that this happened than not.
Something happened. What was that?
Yeah.
Oh, and it's like our engineer
crazy?
friends
That's cool.
that we've talked about with the term entropy, as an engineer, when they study, things don't go from nothing to something. We are born as children, and our bodies and the world, nature, everything goes from this point as far as creation to death. We are decaying as soon as we are born. Nothing goes from born and then evolves into something else. It doesn't happen that way in nature. So you can disprove the theory of evolution on that basis alone. And engineers, who I've got engineer friends, you've got engineer friends.
Rocket scientists,
That's right.
where we live.
And the term entropy is that point in itself.
So when things go wrong, when there's calamity and there's disaster in the world, do we go to the atheists and say, what do you think about this? No, most people go to religious leaders.
And they blame God for it.
And they blame, a lot of times.
But there's still something, I still think there's something in us that says there's got to be a higher power, there's got to be something else. I mean, we don't go to the atheist to look for answers when there's bad things that happen.
That's a good point.
We
How
don't,
No, how many times do you see the atheist say, hey, will you pray for me?
Yeah.
So why don't you pray for yourself?
Right.
Like, if you believe that, why would you ask me to do that if there's really no God?
Sure.
That's where I go back to, I think we all know there's a God. It's just a matter of if we want to admit it.
Right.
And a lot of our prideful self says, no, we are God, so why would we admit there is a God?
We don't want to submit to his rules.
Right.
We don't want to give up control of our lives. So we think, but where does that lead? I think we're at all-time high in cases of depression and suicide. And you look at our society, and there's no anchor in what we believe. Things that 10 years ago we would have said are absurd, now people are saying men can get pregnant and all this,
all that stuff,
all this kind of stuff. And so, if you don't have rules and laws and things that have been stood the test of time, that have been true forever, then you're going to end up with nonsense like that.
Yeah.
Well, why would you care if you killed yourself or not if you really believe that there was no purpose? I mean, that's depressing.
Yeah, it is.
And if you think, okay, well, once I wipe myself out, and then I just don't have to deal with it, and nobody else does either, because in my reality, I'm basically hitting the delete button,
Yeah.
It's depressing.
Well, and how can that help anybody else? If that's what you believe, how can you be an encouragement to anybody else in the world who's going through pain or dealing with death or anything like that? As Christians, we have hope, and we can offer that to other people.
Look at the life-changing power of Jesus Christ in that message. It does change lives. We've seen it. We are an example of it, how Christ has changed lives. You can't tell me that that's not real. I'm sorry. He changed my life. And let me tell you how he changed my life based on this book, based on guys that I've come alongside of and have been a part of and have led into my life. So it is life-changing. So the message of suicide, the message of depression, all that's being pumped into our society, Jesus is a life changer.
From the worldview perspective, you say Jesus is life changing, which I totally agree with. But a lot of times, from a worldly perspective, they want an immediate, okay, he's life changing, but he's not circumstance changing at this moment for me. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And he's my Band-Aid. He's my pocket. He's who I pull out. I mean, you use the pocket God talk a lot. And the whole premise that, I remember screaming at God in 2010, why haven't you fixed me? Why haven't these things happened? And all about my circumstance instead of my life and who I am inside. And that, like you said, Michael, no one can argue what your story is and how Jesus affected you. And that came to light. How he affected you began a journey, at least through me. And on this week's devotional that's going out on Wednesday, I'm writing about this. Until I really understood who he was, and I didn't fully understand who he was based on all the amount of times I've read this. But when I finally started having a revelation that he was with me all the time, it was interesting how the words in this book started popping out and sticking in my heart. And so, through the revelation of who we are, then backed up by all these truths, these New Covenant and New Testament truths about who we truly are as forgiven and holy children, man, things change. And that the perspective is, even as a Christian, an infant Christian going to a very mature Christian, your perspective is always getting deeper and deeper and deeper into who he is inside. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
it's a walk.
It's a walk. So it leads me to kind of a next point. The lenses we look at this through in our life, through being believers to non-believers, what about the brand new person, the brand new baby Christian, the person that was just born again, just saved? They just went out and took the dump to show the world. And
did you say took the dump to show the world?
No,
took over here.
Took the. Did I say
Yes, you did. I think you meant
dunk.
took the jump.
The dunk.
I think you meant jump, but you said dump.
You said dump.
Christianity's way better than that, guys. Trust me, it's not like taking a dump. It's way better.
Do not email me. Do not email me on that. But the brand new Christian that just was saved, that just took the dunk. The baptism.
Dunk.
Oh, gotcha.
Just got baptized. Just got baptized. Crap. What? For that brand new person, their perspective is changing a little, but there's so much more to grow in. And, we call this like the gappers, the people that, they're saved, they're born again, and then
It's the hardest part.
that's the hardest part. From that moment for the next 10 years or so in their life, as they're maturing in who they are in Christ, how does that person's perspective change in order to, creating a hunger for what's in here, creating a hunger for growing and learning more?
Yeah.
Follow where I'm going?
Oh, yeah, no, I had this conversation with my brother last week. I actually had lunch with him. First time I've seen him in person in, 6 or 8 months.
Really?
Yeah.
I know that, yeah.
We haven't even talked in a long time. And, he made some comments about, this person's so-called a Christian, and he's fighting it, and I know he is. He grew up in the same home I did, and he used to believed what I grew up around too. So, but I was like, Ben, you got to remember, dude, like, you've been sowing these seeds, and you told me this actually, and I've said it on the podcast before, but you've been sowing seeds of bad for 20 plus years. I was like, you can't just tell me that the field is all of a sudden going to have flowers in it, right? It doesn't work like that.
Good call.
I was like, so yeah, your circumstances suck. I was like, but that's because you're doing you, right? Like, and now you're realizing what you've been doing isn't working, and you're trying to fix it, and I'm proud of you for that. But like, you can't just expect that it's like a light switch here. Like, you've got to start sowing good things, which means first you have to do is destroy the old crop, which is going to take a while, by the way. Like, your struggles are tough, and then you got to start sowing other seeds, and then it's got to rain, then the sun's got to come up again. By the way, it takes days and months for a field to grow, right? So these seeds are just like that in your life, right? And unfortunately, some of these seeds take a long time to grow. But it is what it is. Some of the most beautiful flowers in the world take years before they bloom one time. You know what I mean?
And then they bloom like once every 3 years after that or something. Yeah, it's crazy.
But you can't expect to put bad seeds down for 20 years and then all of a sudden your field is great to grow good stuff in. Like, it doesn't work like that.
Right.
The Bible says we reap what we sow. So we sow into this world and the things of this world for so many years. And then, yes, Christ can change it around instantly. And he does, especially when we accept him by grace through faith. But like Chef said, those things have to work out. So that takes time. Yeah. And are we willing as new believers? And that's why it's so important to get around other people of faith to help water that and to help you grow and to have those light bulb moments.
Talk about taking stress off your chest too. Like when you're like, oh man, I got to change all these things. I can't cuss. I can't drink. I can't do this. I can't do that. No, sometimes you just got to show up. You know what I mean? Like, talk about stressful. Like, trying to figure out how to be a good enough Christian.
How to be good, yeah.
And look at my year, 2023, that's just been...
You're having a good one.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, as a new believer, a baby Christian, and I think God really protects us as baby Christians. I think he lets us go, like a mother takes care of a child. I think that really happens in our spiritual walk. Because I can give you instances of where that has happened when I first believed, and when I've come back to, it's like, it's a wonderful period. You're just basking in that love and that glow, and that's what babies do with their mothers. They have no other choice. They have to rely on this person, and when you rely on the Lord, He takes you through that. Well, this 2023 is like, if I was a new believer and all this was happening to me, I'd be like, screw this.
Yeah, right. What's
I want
this
no
about?
part of Christianity.
The honeymoon's over.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But as a person that realizes that I'm in a battle daily, and the weapons of my warfare are here as opposed to what they used to be,
right.
Trying to do it myself. So I can sit here and go, okay, yeah, bring the darts, bring the arrows. I'm not going to change my belief based on what is happening to me. Because we talk about the definition of happiness. I'm not going to change that because I've grown in the Lord. And I told a young gentleman at a graduation party this weekend, he had a tattoo on his thigh, Philippians 4:13. I said, do you know what that is? And he said, yeah. And I said, we just talked about
right,
that.
yeah.
And I had mentioned that, and I said, my favorite one is Philippians 1:21, where it says, for me to live as Christ, to die as gain. And he kind of had this puzzled look on it. And I said, dude, I got to cover it on both ends. Because for me to live as Christ, which I am doing now,
yeah.
But to die is gain. So no matter what happens, bring it on.
Yeah. So that perspective, you've got joy, you've got hope, you've got peace.
And that hasn't happened overnight.
Right.
That's that walk. That's that period of time where I've sowed good seeds now. And it's starting to come to fruition from those seeds.
Mm-hmm.
But think about like that statement, right? To death is to gain. If you're a non-believer, death's a bad thing.
It scares the crap out of
Right.
you.
But if you're a believer, you don't really care. Like, you're actually happier to die than you are to stay here because you know you're going somewhere better. That doesn't mean we want to leave Earth quickly, right? Like, that's not the point. But like, that's a really odd perspective to somebody that doesn't have anywhere to go after they die.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you imagine that? It's like, okay, well, when the lights go out, now it's just emptiness.
And if you talk to somebody, because we know we're made up of body, soul, and spirit, and that spirit, there's that want to have a relationship with our Creator. I think everybody's got it.
Oh, 100%.
But I think this gets in the way from this. And I told a guy, I was in an airport in Denver, and he was a lawyer out of Texas. I remember his name because I still pray for him. And John List, if you're listening, I'm still praying for you. But he was an atheist. And I said, John, you are so brilliant when it comes to the law. And I said, but the difference between you and me is you're doing it with that. I'm doing it with this because it's, the grace through faith that I believe in Christ. And he just didn't have an answer for that. And they don't, because I still believe that people want to have a relationship with God, but they just don't know how to get there. And they haven't had their light bulb moment. And I don't know if they ever will.
Yeah, that's that weighs on my heart with a lot of people I know. And just I keep thinking he's going to hit them right between the eyes. God's going to do it. And they're going to understand who Jesus is. And but like you just said, there's so many times you'll have a conversation, and the conversation stops whenever you go to that "I know what He did for me" thing.
Right.
They don't have that. What other thoughts around the horn, and we'll start putting a bow on this thing.
You were talking about how 20 years of sowing bad seeds. It's going to take a while for that to change. When you accept Jesus in your heart, you do take on the new nature. There is the light switch moment where it's like you don't carry the guilt and shame anymore, but you still have to sometimes ride out those consequences. But He gives you strength to deal with that, and He can turn it for good. And it is hard. It's a hard lesson to watch people still reap those seeds that they've sown. But the good news is you do have a new nature, and you don't have the same guilt. You don't have that same. You don't deal with things the same way that you used to. So there's a light switch there.
And it's changed the lens that you look through.
Yes.
Exactly. And when Paul writes about the renewing, transforming yourself by the renewing of your mind, I mean, he's making a direct, you spent 30 years of wiring your brain one way. Guess what? You might take another 10 to rewire the hardware, put in new software in there, and get it back up to snuff so it can catch up with what's in your heart.
Right.
Well, I mean, look at Paul. I mean, he struggled with something. We know his entire life. I mean, he was the Pharisee of all Pharisees. He was the best at being, that, right?
That perspective is he came from, talk about experiencing two perspectives.
Yeah.
And then after
Change his name.
changed his name, and
he's like, I can't be that guy anymore.
yeah, but at the same time, he had his encounter with one perspective going out to hunt down Christians, and Jesus intercepts him. And then he kind of disappears for a couple of years. So there was something that happened during those couple of years before he came back out where maybe that brain was being rewired a little bit. But then he still wrote about the thorn in his side, take it out, planted there by Satan. He still wrote about covetousness. He still wrote about those things that might still be sticking around a little bit that he's trying to work through in his mind and his heart. There's so many lessons through his writings that just pop out to me now that never did. And it's crazy how the words in this book will just give you the certain applications to life today that
Isn't it
that
cool,
helps you
though,
get through.
that the ultimate anti-Christian wrote a majority of the New Testament?
Yeah.
Isn't that unbelievable?
Yeah.
And and I watched something the other day, and it was about our pastor was talking about goats, greatest of all times.
Yeah. Michael Jordan.
And if you think about who's influenced the world more than anyone else, it was Jesus. I mean,
Yeah.
and you would never think, okay, how can this guy born in basically a crappy town in the middle of nowhere, would change the world more than any other human on earth?
Right.
And then you can tell me it's not of divine nature. I mean, no other human has changed the world more than Jesus.
Yeah.
Actually set our calendar and our time.
Everything.
Everything. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That's a perspective to think about. And that well, this has been awesome.
I thought I was watching another YouTube video when I was thinking of that statement. Then I realized, oh no, I actually sat in front of that guy yesterday.
Awesome. Well, we got to continue giving our stories. We got to continue giving our testimony, even though some people have ears but do not hear. And that one seed you planted, Michael, that one seed that we all plant with somebody might change that perspective in some way to bring them to Christ, and then we can gather and celebrate. And just like we're going to celebrate on September the 9th at the King
Who's
Center.
coming?
Got Zach Williams coming. We've been promoting him for 83 days now. That's when the tickets went on sale, and we still have almost 12 weeks left until the show here in Melbourne, Florida. It's going to be a party, a packed house, great,
It'll be a knee slapper.
great storytelling, great worship. You're going to see some Impact men on stage, and just to show the chains that they were able to break free from through Christ. And Zach Williams, his testimony is our ministry and what it's all about. So we encourage you to go to kingcenter.com, come and spend an evening with us for the Break the Chains Through Grace experience. And then we got some other things that are coming up as well with a retreat. We're starting a veterans group for veterans. It's going to be right here in this office. And then we're even dabbling with prison ministry stuff now. So we got a lot of cool things that are going to be happening in the second half of the year. And we just want you to follow us at impactministries.org. That's MPACT ministries.org. Facebook, Instagram. Doesn't cost you a thing to like us, follow us, share us. Tell the world about us so other men can help. We can help other men discover grace one man at a time. Is that cool?
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Is that cool? Last thoughts from everybody as we move on our post Father's Day week.
I used mine up.
You used all yours up?
All my thoughts, they're all gone at this point.
Well,
I was going to say, don't tell us if you take a dump, but if you take a dunk, a dunk,
We wanna
what is
hear
it?
it.
A
We're
dunk
much
for
more
Jesus?
excited about the dunks.
Right. Yeah. don't-
how are people going to understand this when you cut it out from the beginning?
We're not cutting it
Oh,
out.
we're not cutting it out.
Oh, gosh.
That wasn't in the beginning. That was midway through.
That was midway
Yeah,
through.
take a dump for Jesus.
All right.
It also helps him not have to edit out that dump truck that went by.
That's why you had dump on your mind.
That's right.
yeah.
The dump
The
truck.
dump truck went by.
All
I
right.
get it now.
We are going places I never thought we'd go on a Monday morning right here in Cocoa Village at the Impact Men's Ministry Studios. So check us out. We'll catch you next week. Same time, same place without all the expletives. So I'm Trey.
I'm Michael.
I'm Brad.
I'm Jeremy.
We are the
Cussing Christians.
Never go anywhere without these guys.
Oh, man.
Never go anywhere
This was a
without
pretty
do
clean
another road.
show, though.
It was. You didn't drop one thing.
I did not. No, I was proud of myself.
Something's changing in you, Jeremy.
Yes.
The
All the
stress
seeds
isn't
you've
there.
sown.
You're
Yeah.
growing. You're
I just don't give a dump.
I just don't get it.